Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students and viewers. Welcome to English Corner. In this lesson, we'll talk about word formation processes. I'm sure that in our last lesson, we talked about morphology, and you can remember that morphology deals with structure and formation of new words, or all the words of a language. Word formation processes refer to the ways or means of producing new words in a language. In a language, there are different ways or means by which we can have new words, and we can increase the size of vocabulary of any language. Primary two of them are inflection and derivation. Inflection produces grammatical variants of the same word where word class does not change. For example, go and goes. You have two forms, grammatical forms, but their meaning does not change, and both of them still are verb. So, inflection modifies a form to express different grammatical categories like tense, mood, voice, aspect, person, number, gender, case, etc. And based on them, any of them, you have different form of the same word, same word class, and their meaning does not change, and the word class also does not change. On the other hand, derivation produces a new word on the basis of an existing word, like honest and honesty. You have an adjective honest, and you change this adjective into a noun. So you have a new word where the word class had changed. So you get a new form as well as new part of speech or lexical class or syntactic category. And here the meaning of the root also changes. For example, in modern and modernize. So in modernize, you have the same word modern, but the meaning of modern in modern is different from the meaning of modern in modernize. To understand word formation processes, we need to understand affectation. In any word, we have two parts, root and affixes. Root is the basic part which has a meaning, which has some content meaning, and which, of course, it inflects, and affixes are extra part which are added to the root and new word is produces. So there are three types of affixes in any language, but in English there are only two types of affixation. The first one is prefixation and second one is suffixation. In prefixation, we have an affix added to the front of a root. The type of affix used in this process is referred to as prefix. For example, un plus tidy, untidy. In suffixation, we add an affix to the end of a root. The type of affix used in this process is referred to as suffix. For example, fear, and you add an affix less, which is the suffix here, and you get a word fearless. Conversion is another way of having new word. In conversion, there is a change of function or parts of speech of a word without adding an affix. So you do not add an affix, there is no suffix or prefix, still it remains unchanged, but still its function changes and you get a new word. So there is zero derivation or null derivation, since the functional change is brought about by supplementing an invisible affix. So there is a functional shift. Typically, conversion is made from noun to verb or from verb to noun. Less frequently, conversion is also done from adjective to verb and adjective to noun. For instance, you have some words as noun, primarily noun, but you can use them as verb. Some verbs, primarily verbs, but they can be used as noun. There are some adjectives which can be used as verb or noun. So these forms, they do not have any change, they do not have any affix, but still we have a different form with different meaning, we have new words. Back formation is another word formation process or morphological process where new word is created by extracting affixes from another word. That is, you exclude or you cut off an affix from an existing word and you get a new word. It is just a reverse process of affixation. And also it is different from clipping since it brings a change in the parts of a speech or its meaning. For example, the noun insertion has been back-formed into verb insert by removing the suffix ion. The first word was used as insertion. There was no insert indeed at the beginning. You have the noun insertion and then ion has been cut off or removed and you get a new verb or new word insert. Clipping is another important way of word formation where a word is reduced to a shorter form and it keeps the original word meaning intact. So there is no change in the meaning, but you have a short form of the longer one. Like lab is the clipped form of laboratory. There are 4 types of clipping. Back clipping, which is also called final clipping or apocope, where there is a truncation, that is clipping off the end of your word as an ad from advertisement. So you keep only the first 2 letter and you clip the rest of it. The second clipping is foreclipping, where initial clipping takes place. It is also called apheresis, where we have a removal of the beginning of a word as in phone from telephone. In middle clipping, we have an extraction of the beginning and end of a word as in flu from influenza. So you don't have in and enja in flu, you use just the middle part of it by clipping. There can be complex clipping, where there is a removal of multiple parts from multiple words, as in cablegram from cable telegram. Compounding or composition is another important way of word formation, where 2 or more than 2 words are combined together to create a single word, having a single idea and function. Though we have 2 words combined, still they have a single idea and single function as well. They are spelled as a single word, like life plus style, and you get a new word, lifestyle. You can use a hyphen in between them, like mother-in-law. Sometimes there is no hyphen, you can just use 2 separate words like shopping mall. There are some things that we need to remember while compounding. Hyphen is ignored when they become more familiar. Some compound adjectives which are always hyphenated. For example, state of the art. Hyphen is often retained when 2 vowels come together, such as cooperation. Borrowing is another common way of word formation, where words are adapted from other languages. That is, you borrow words from other languages. There are 2 ways of borrowing. One is loan word, where a word is borrowed from another language without translating it into the target language. That is, you use the word as it is found in the target language. The phrase tour de force is borrowed directly from French, which means a masterly or brilliant feat. So you use the same word as it is found in French, you use the same word in English without translating it. But sometimes you can change the word, or you can use the translated version of the word, which is called loan translation or calquing. It is a morphological process wherein a word or phrase from another language is borrowed by literally translating it into the target language. For example, the phrase point of view has been translated into English from the French phrase point de vue. So here point de vue, these 3 words have been literally translated into English as point of and view, and you use, or English has used, point of view as literal translation of the French phrase point de vue. Coyness. Coyness refers to inventing new words. Coyness is the basic, primary, and colorless way of producing new words in a language, where new words are invented or coined based on trademark products, person, or some even cultural trait like information technology, mass media, internet, etc. So you have different new words which have been added to the existing dictionary And it is said that around 1200 to 1500 words every year are added to the existing dictionary or existing vocabulary of English. So you have new words like aspirin, escalator, nylon, band-aid, Google, blog, netbook, tablet, emoticon, smartphone, etc. Remember, these words were not related to any previous words. These are new words, 100% new words. Blending. Another important way of word formation is blending. The parts of two or more words are combined together to form a new word. Usually, the parts consist of the beginning of one word and end of the other word or words. Typically, the meaning of the blended word reverberates, means resembles, with the meanings of the original words. For example, breakfast plus lunch, and you have a new word, brunch. Motel refers to motor and hotel. Blending should not be confused with compounding, where there is combination of two words without truncation of parts of the roots of the blended words. So in compounding, you have both the words without any change, and in blending, there is change in the new form or in the new word, but it has the meaning of both the two words or the words which have been used to form the blending. Acronyms and abbreviation. Acronyms are formed with the initial letters or each of the major parts of a word or a longer phrase. Acronyms are pronounced as a single word rather than just a sequence of individual letters, but abbreviations are pronounced as a sequence of individual letters. For example, UNESCO and ADB. In UNESCO, you have the initial letters, but UNESCO is pronounced as a single word, not UNESCO as individual letters. But in ADB, like acronyms, you have the initial letters, but it is not pronounced as a word itself, but it is pronounced as a sequence of individual letters like A, D, and B, or L, C, D. An important thing to remember is that an abbreviation, when it becomes very familiar and it has been used for a long time, it turns into acronyms. Reduplication. It also refers to cloning, doubling, duplication, or repetition. So reduplication refers to repeating all or part of a root or a stem, often with a change of vowel or initial consonant. There are at least 4 techniques of reduplication. Repetition without change. So you use bye, tick, tick, and there is no change in the second part of the word, bye, tick, tick. The second one is rhyming reduplication, where for the sake of rhyming, you change the word to some extent and you use both of them as one word, like ding dong, super duper, bow wow. There can be repetition with change of vowel, like tip top, chit chat, flip flop, ping pong. And also there can be repetition with change of initial consonant, like tweeny weeny. In Bangla we also say nasta tasta. So thank you very much for watching this, and I'm sure that you have understood what formation processes are morphological processes. And if you have any question, write in the comment box and I will give you feedback on them. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.